Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the season 1 finale, Percy Jackson and the Olympians. So, as always, this is going to contain full spoilers for both the book and the show. And of course, if you want to see reactions to these episodes, you can check out my Patreon. The link is in the description below. But with that being said, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and let's begin. Alright, so here we are at the season 1 finale. It's been a bumpy ride this season 1 so far, and I am happy that they pretty much stuck the landing. I enjoyed it overall, but I did have some major gripes with it. But honestly, my gripes are kind of the same gripes I've had with a lot of the episodes. So therefore, I guess we can call it consistent. So the episode starts off with right where we left off, with Percy on the beach, and he's about to go up against Ares. The scene that most of us book readers have been anticipating for a long time. We really wanted to see it, and it was completely cut out from the movies for whatever reason. And yes, we actually finally get the fight. It was cool. I liked it. It was pretty decent, but it is still suffering from the same issue that pretty much every action scene in this show has suffered from. The action basically comes and goes in a blink of an eye. It doesn't take any time to really kind of dig into the fight. The fight doesn't feel prolonged in any kind of way. It doesn't have the length. A fight scene can go on too long or it can be too short. And all of these are always too short. They never hit the Goldilocks zone. And granted, I understand, in a book, it's a little easier to kind of, pit this matchup together than it is in the show, because Ares is 3 feet taller than Percy, and his sword is the size of his arm, and all kinds of stuff like this. It's it's not a fair matchup at all. So even the use of the water as a, power boost for Percy doesn't really make up that difference. But I wish they would have had them more in the surf the way they were in the book and stuff, so he could draw continuous power, so he could actually stand against him and sword fight a little bit. He kind of gets thrown around and get a slash here, but they do kind of end it the same way the book did, with him getting that cut across Ares' calf and going to first blood and stuff. So it did kind of play out the way it does in the book, but again, I just wish the action sequence could have been, lived in a little longer. But honestly, this episode of all the episodes has the better excuse for a short action scene, because they kind of wrap up a lot of the end of the book in this one episode, and it's actually quite a lot they need to accomplish. So at this point, they still don't even know who the true lightning thief is. So by the time the group gets back to camp, they are thinking that it's still Clarice. And they're trying to figure out why, they called Luke and told Luke about it and stuff. They're kind of trying to figure out why nothing's happening, why she's not locked up or anything like this. So they're just trying to feel around, try to understand what's going on. So Luke goes to talk to, or Percy goes to talk to Luke, and this is where we get the book reveal. It's a different way than it was done in the book, but it's pretty interesting. It's weird though, because I'm not quite sure on the time difference between when they got to camp in this conversation, because now it's nighttime and there's fireworks going on, which made for a really cool kind of backdrop for the conversation. I liked it. It was pretty interesting. But again, these are minor changes, stuff easily gotten over. So the conversation, this is another difference. This is one of the things that they've also done throughout the season. Instead of having Percy and the crew kind of figure stuff out as it's happening, they kind of go in with enough forethought to kind of be able to make these sort of predictions. So it kind of happens in the same way with the reveal. Instead of the, Luke being the lightning thief coming out as a circumstance of the conversation and, him playing his card with the scorpion and everything, trying to actually assassinate Percy, it's more Percy paid attention to the context clues of everything they've been through during the quest, and he puts it together. So it's kind of like how watching the show, you can kind of put together that Luke is the lightning thief, but they kind of just allow Percy to do that, which I'm okay with, because a lot of the scenes where in the book it was a showcase of Percy's intelligence, they kind of gave it to Annabeth. So I'm kind of okay with, him being, able to use some sort of deductive reasoning to figure out the big mystery at the end. So it all makes sense. And the reveal was pretty satisfying. I like that. But one of the interesting things they did, they changed Backbiter. So Luke has a sword that is half celestial bronze and half steel, so that it can destroy monsters or it can kill humans. And I thought that was a really cool, it felt very sinister because you get really used to the celestial bronze in the book and you recognize that it can't hurt people because they even kind of showcase it in the scene. And so you kind of have the sense of it's harder for the kids to make a mistake because their weapons can only actually kill monsters. So you feel like, you know, even if they think they mistake a human for a monster and try to kill it, it won't actually hurt the human. So it kind of has this layer of safety to it. So when Backbiter was introduced, it felt far more dangerous because it's, you know, deliberately going against that kind of safety rule. So I really like that aspect about Luke's sword and everything. But in here, they don't even mention that it's half celestial bronze, half steel. It doesn't have a specific look that could imply that or anything. Because I always picture one half being gold, one half being like silver, you know, that kind of thing. So they don't apply that to thing at all, which is kind of disappointing. But now they give in Backbiter the ability to like cut tears in reality and like create portals, which in a way I kind of get because it would explain how Luke was able to just pop around the way he does in the books. Even though I think the book, the book may have explained it, but I don't really remember. But basically, it was kind of chalked up to his ingenuity and his, you know, skill and knowledge about the mythical world and stuff like that. So instead of doing anything like that, we're just going to straight up give him the ability to like port around, to like teleport around, which is okay, but it kind of makes him a little too powerful in a lot of ways, like because some of their fights they get into that he doesn't benefit from, like, you know, engaging in, he can just leave instead of having to deal with it, you know, like he does in the books. So I don't know, maybe they'll do a lot with it later. I don't know. So far I'm not really, you know, I'm lukewarm on that change. I guess I'll say I'm lukewarm on it. But overall, the fight between the two of them was kind of okay. It was kind of interesting. But it was like, again, because we kind of did it in this way, it's hard for me not to compare it to the movie. Because in this one, it's really just like a couple taps, basically. And Annabeth throws her dagger and then makes a threat to Luke saying she heard everything. And which is different than the books because she doesn't really know anything about Luke's betrayal until later. So her knowing from the get-go and all this stuff is kind of cool. It makes, because a part in the book, when Annabeth started realizing Luke is the bad guy and stuff, she starts to like drag her feet a lot because she's very reluctant to engage in any kind of violence against them because how close they are. So them having her figure it out early will hopefully make up for that, where she won't be dragging her feet and we can kind of keep it going later on. So maybe it will, maybe it won't. I'm gonna be optimistic that that's what they're doing. But essentially they had Annabeth be a part of it this time. So her learning things early is going to basically help set up that entire situation as we go, especially if they keep the whole line from the prophecy, the cursed blade and everything. Hopefully that stays intact the way it should be, and then we'll kind of figure all that out later. So that stuff was cool. I think it was handled pretty well. I still don't understand the point and the reason for saying that Percy ran out of time and failed the quest, because it has no consequence. And so when he goes to meet Zeus, I really love the look of Olympus. I thought that was really well done. It looked great. It looked like a huge city, because most of the time in media, when they show Olympus, it just looks like a temple, like a single temple or a couple temples or whatever. But this, they made it look like a huge sprawling city and stuff in the sky, and I thought that was awesome. That's exactly how it should be. That's really, really cool, and I liked it. I mean, granted, it was incredibly empty though, but that's probably just a budget thing. But I thought that was cool. But I was slightly disappointed that all the thrones were the basic thrones. They weren't like all uniquely identifiable the way they are in the books and stuff. And so, you know, that didn't work out well. And Lance Reddick as Zeus was awesome. I really loved him as Zeus. I'm really sad we've lost him. He won't be in season 2, obviously, because he's passed, and that's like just a terrible loss for all of us and the entire genre of acting, like all that kind of stuff. And, you know, of course, to his family and friends and everything, obviously. But he did a great job. I kind of like, I'm of two minds about this. They didn't really change Lance Reddick's look at all. He honestly could have walked off the set of John Wick and like it would have, you know, it was exactly the same kind of suit and everything. So like they didn't do anything to like, I mean, granted in the book, he is also kind of described as just wearing like a pinstripe suit and like having a very tight kind of, businessman, kind of modern business beard and that kind of thing. Not so much the, you know, long grandfather Gandalf beard that Zeus often has. So I guess they were kind of going more for that. But Lance Reddick has played so many characters with that kind of look, so it's just hilarious. It's like the guy from John Wick shows up and he's actually secretly Zeus. Like, that's kind of fun. but his voice and his gravitas and his just presence and everything, he brought everything he needed to be Zeus. And I love that they kind of changed it from the book a little bit. Like, the more, I didn't like it initially, but now I kind of like it more I think about it. Like, Zeus is a lot more intimidating, a lot more stubborn, a lot more dismissive and stuff, which is exactly how I think he would be in real life, because he's so hyper arrogant because of his power and everything. Even Kronos isn't that big of a threat to him and stuff. So I just really like the way that scene played out. I thought it was cool. And it was very in character of Zeus to like only take so much back talk to where he was about to like just straight up kill Percy, and having Poseidon show up at that moment to stop Zeus from killing Percy, I thought was really cool. But I thought it was really stupid that he just immediately says, I surrender, and like that ends the war. Like in the books, like the threat of this kind of war is like something that could kill all like a country's worth of humans and stuff. Because, like, when they fight, like, it creates weather anomalies and all these kind of things, which we do kind of get some background hints at and stuff. So I thought that was nice. But it's like, there's a lot. Like, it's just weird. It made it feel very anticlimactic, and it makes it all the stakes of everything feel a lot smaller when it's just handled like that instantaneously and that effortlessly. It just is like, oh, okay, I guess. Like, it's that kind of thing. So, like, that's why I really don't understand them having him have run out of time and, like, having, quote-unquote, failed the quest and stuff. I don't like that. And the conversation with Percy and Poseidon, I thought was really nice. I love the acting, because, again, in the flashback, we get some really, really good acting scenes from the guy who plays Poseidon. So, like, his visual acting, his facial acting is really well done. So when Percy asks him if he ever dreams about mom and stuff, like, he basically almost broke down in tears, and then uses a pearl and throws it down to send Percy back to Earth and stuff. So I thought that was really nice. It shows some really good subtlety and stuff, and it shows, like, their reluctance to be very, you know, open and forthright with the way they feel and everything. It all felt very appropriate and stuff. But, so overall, I guess I really did enjoy this episode. It had some pacing issues. It had some minor issues and stuff. They continuously separate the group, which I can't stand. I don't know why they keep separating the trio. And that's just been a problem most of the season. And it seems like it's not going to stop anytime soon, I guess. But again, my issue has been that the action scenes are too quick. It's caused an issue with the pacing. And a lot of the information they should be finding out in the moment, they somehow just know offhand immediately, which kills the tension, and kills the build-up, and it kills the learning experience of where they are in that part of the story. So I wasn't enjoying that pretty much at all. But overall, I think they kind of did a pretty good job. And at first, I thought they were just going to skip the whole ending with Gabe and everything, because Gabe was nowhere near as abusive, nowhere near as, you know, a monkey wrench in the plan and everything as he was in the book. So I thought they would just skip it, which I thought was a huge sign for them having screwed up a lot of the adaptation. But it came in as a post-credit scene, which was like, okay, that's kind of how the movie did it too, which I don't really appreciate the show doing it that way. But without the whole abuse thing, then you don't have to make it a point for Sally to divorce him and leave him and stuff and all of that. So I guess, but maybe Sally will still do the thing where she sells his, you know, sculpture, I guess I'll call it, because he gets turned into stone when he opens the package of Medusa's head. So that's pretty much what happens in the book, but it's, Sally has nothing to do with it this time, as opposed to in the book where she kind of, like, directs him towards it. So it's kind of, you know, it makes her even far more innocent. It makes it more just like an accident of this bumbling idiot, and it less of a comeuppance kind of a situation. So we still get the event, but it's not, it doesn't have the context or the, you know, the weight and everything that it did previously. So yeah, overall, I think it was fine. I think this is one of the better episodes. It didn't drag, to me, it didn't drag and didn't like frustrate me the way like the last few episodes did. But I think it wasn't as good as episode 5, but I think it was pretty much up there. So this is probably a solid season 1 for this show. I think this is a much better adaptation than that movie. But overall, I have to say that this show was as enjoyable as that first movie, which, depending on your opinion of the first movie, you might take that as a negative comment or a positive comment. I didn't like the level of adaptation of the first movie, but I had enough fun with the first movie to not absolutely hate it. So that's kind of where I am with the first season of the show. I really hope that they kind of, you know, hit their stride and really get into their momentum and stuff, because we kind of got some hints with Grover finally getting his searcher's license and talking about searching the seas for Pan and stuff, which leads into Sea of Monsters. So I'm really, really hoping that we kind of hit our stride and like really you know, it smooth out all these issues that they've had. And hopefully Disney gives them a bigger budget, because I've heard that the show's been getting reviewed very well. So I'm hoping they get a bigger budget and we can actually linger on some of the action scenes and stuff like that for this next season, for the next book and everything. So I'm just hoping for continuous improvement. This is a solid start, but it's a fairly rocky start for an adaptation of an entire series. But I do have hope and faith that they will get better, and it will just like hit its stride, and it'll be exactly what we got from the books. At least, you know, the majority, because the group dynamic, honestly, the dynamic of the trio was done better in the movie, because they're always together in the movie, as opposed to finding any and every excuse to separate them in the show. So I'm hoping that we cut that out and like we keep the trio together in the next season. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on the season finale and the overall first season of Percy Jackson and the Olympians? Do you think they stuck the landing? Do you think it's rocky, or do you think they completely failed? Let me know about that in the comments down below. So as always, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And if you're interested in reactions and a little extra stuff, you can check out the Patreon. Link is in the description. So as always, I will talk to you all next time. Peace.